Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Yes, that's what we like to hear. For like the 14th time, welcome to PC. It's my favorite place, pretty much on earth. I'm a Blue Hose. I'm a grad from 1998, which is why I have these readers on my head. So I'm not going to see this if I don't. But we're excited to have you all here today. We're excited to have you and your students here. Cannot wait to welcome them fully to campus in the fall, and hopefully this will give you a little snippet of what it will be like. Today we have joined on stage some of our, what we call our PC, what you guys want to go, experts? Our student experts. They're the ones that are going to be working with your students. They're going to be part of the support system for your students when they come onto campus. And we feel it's very important for you to see them, see their faces, know who they are so that you know who to connect with if you need help or if your student needs help. As Ms. Wilson just talked about, there's some regulations and some boundaries that we have to set, but these are the folks that are all working behind the scenes to make sure your students feel supported, to make sure they have all the resources that they need when they become a student here at PC. So we felt it was very important for you to be able to see these faces, put names with faces, and start to get to know these folks. So without further ado, I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about what they do here on campus, starting with Ms. Kim Lane.
Good morning. I'm Kim Lane. I'm the Director for Career and Professional Development. So I'm all about careers. Whether your child needs to go on for graduate school for an advanced degree or going right into work after graduation, we work with your child all 4 years. I think there's a misconception that we shouldn't see someone in career development until senior year, and that is absolutely a myth. We really want to see your child every year of their college career to be prepared for launching after PC. So we do everything from internships, major exploration. If your child's not sure about what they want to study, that's great. They have a couple years to explore with us. Getting work experience, getting connected to employers, and then launching into the world of work. That's what we do. Thank you.
Howdy. My name is Jana Barnes, and I'm the Accessible Education Coordinator. If your child had a 504 or an IEP while they were in high school, I am the person you need to come and see. I work with all types of disabilities, and I am so grateful to be here at PC, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Good morning. My name is Susan Gentry, and I'm the Director of Counseling Services here at Presbyterian College. My daughter graduated from here in 2023, and my son is currently a freshman here. So I can give you the parental point of view as well as the counseling perspective. Students go through a lot of changes when they come to school, come to college, and the number one cause of anxiety is change. So I personally think there are two kinds of people that get counseling and people that need counseling. So counseling is covered with their tuition, so there's no additional cost for that. And so as they transition and they're learning about being independent, being responsible, adjusting to academic pressures, developing a new social network, they may feel a little anxious, and they're welcome to come and talk through that. There are a number of reasons students come to counseling. One is stress management, sometimes to work through a problem, sometimes just personal growth. And of course, there's bigger issues that they can also be seen with or seen for. So I don't want you to think that if your student is in counseling that there's some major problem going on. And it's certainly not an indictment of you all if they come to counseling. If they do come to counseling, it is confidential. It's not a part of their educational record or anything like that. And I have to have a release of information from them before I can even talk to you about the things we discuss. However, if they are a threat to themselves or others, you better believe I'm going to call you, I'm going to be in contact, and do whatever I can to keep all of our students safe. So, congratulations on being here and being accepted to PC.
Great morning, beautiful people. I'm Dr. Selena Blair. My full title is the Rogers Ingram Vice President for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, and Title IX Coordinator. Extremely long. Extremely long. However, I have one of the best jobs on campus, and I hope you hear that from many people here today. I realize that many, in this political climate, a lot of people have questions about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So let me put you at ease right now before we continue. What we are doing here at PC has nothing to do with brainwashing or indoctrination. If it did, I would have used it on my own children first. So, I have the honor to serve as the direct supervisor for accessible education, counseling services, health services, our first-gen program, as well as anything related to the educational environment. Not necessarily the educational content, but the environment, to make sure that your child has the access and opportunities that they need in order to thrive. So again, nothing to do with brainwashing, nothing to do with indoctrination, but we want to make sure that our campus is the place where, whether you are the child of someone who works at a Fortune 500 company, or whether you're coming from a foster care home or a single parent household, that you can come to PC, be your authentic self, and receive the love, and education that you need that you deserve in order to make a difference in this world, so that we can live up to our motto, while we live, we serve. So I'm happy to continue the conversation, and I'm so glad that you chose to be here on a Saturday morning. So take care, and we look forward to continuing this conversation.
Okay.
Well, I guess I'll mix up the rotation since I already have the mic. Well, like Selena, my name is DJ Elmore. I have a long title as well. I'm the Associate AD for Sports Medicine, Senior Women Administrator, Title IX Liaison for Athletics, and a bunch of other titles that I pretty much basically work with everyone here in this room in one way or another to help your student athletes with their resources and getting them to the right individuals along with athletics. So that's the short version of it, and I'll pass it on to Lou.
Good morning. My name is Boone Kirkpatrick, and I'm the Director of Residence Life at Presbyterian College. And I'm also the Chief Conduct Officer, which isn't part of my title, but it is part of what I do. And so, the areas I oversee include housing for all undergraduate students. And unless your student is living with you within 40 miles of campus, or is married, has been a child, or a couple other exceptions, we do require them to live on campus. You can visit me at the enrollment fair after this, and I can talk to you about our different housing options that we have. And I also oversee our RA staff, who are student staff in the residence halls with your students, who are there to help them as peers and as mentors, and also Chief Conduct Officer. So any violation of the student conduct policy comes through our office, and we have that opportunity to have a developmental and educational conversation with students and set them back on the right path. I work as well closely with all these folks here, and as Susan mentioned, there's certain things that I can't talk about, like a student's conduct record without a but I'm always happy to talk to you about our process and how things work. So I'm going to pass the baton on.
Hi everyone, I'm Gail Conchani. I'm an academic peer tutor, and there's about 25 of us, and we're here to offer students some support in their classes. We cover most disciplines that we can. We have about 13 majors being covered currently, and you are able to access us through Bannerweb or through Brightspace and set up an appointment. You can also set up an appointment with the Writing Center if your student needs help with any essays or anything like that. And
Good morning. My name is Tony Eigner. I'm the Chief of Campus Police and Public Safety. We're responsible for ensuring a safe and secure environment for our students, faculty, staff, and visitors. The core functions for our department are we provide protections for people and property. We maintain order and prevent crime. We work community policing and education, emergency response, traffic management. We collaborate with local law enforcement and other departments in the area, to include Clinton Police Department, Lawrence County Sheriff's Office, City of Lawrence Police Department, as well as Newberry County Sheriff's Office. We enforce the laws and regulations of the state of South Carolina, federal laws as well, along with the policies of Presbyterian College. We respond to crimes and incidents here on campus, provide security services, emergency management, and we assist with providing support services like transport. We can, if students call, for example, and maybe it's someone who's been injured, an athlete, or just someone who's gotten hurt or something and they need an escort to class or someplace like, we provide those services as well. We're about 14 officers and have our administrative office manager. All are certified through the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy as either a Class 3 or Class 1 police officer.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, so we're gonna just start right in and talk, what are some of the biggest concerns that new students come to campus with, that you guys have seen, and how does PC help them with that transition to college? So what are some of the biggest concerns that they come with, and how do you and your teams help them through those transitions? Does anybody want to lead us off with that?
The first thing that we see is homesickness. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That just means that they have healthy relationships with you all. And you're also going to miss your children, and you'll be okay, I promise. When they move out of your house, your relationship will flourish.
I'm sorry. I get it. We're good. Yeah.
Absolutely. But if the homesickness lasts more than like 3 weeks, that it could be turning into depression or something like that, and we can help them with that. I am always counseling minded, but I also want to mention that we have a nurse practitioner who, if they already have medication, she can fill those medicines, and she's on campus Monday through Friday, 12:30 to 2:30 now, per hour switch. So those are the biggest things. And then adjusting to the academic rigor is different, because your student may have been the smartest one in their high school class, and then they come to PC, and my daughter, she's in law school now, she said, I'm having to adjust to not being the shining star. And my son was like, welcome to my world. So having to adjust to things like that, or even in athletics, they may have been the #1 person on their team, and now they're not. And so all of those adjustments that occur, but we are here, and all of us are here to support them through that.
Great, thank you.
I think one of the, talking about adjustments, is the difference, especially in accessible education, between the accommodations that are provided in high school and accommodations that are appropriate in the college setting. So I think just having students understand those differences, but also know that we are here for them, and that, you know, they don't have to go it alone, and they don't have to think that, oh, I use those in high school, but I may not need them in college. Okay, well, I'd rather you have them and not need them than need them and not have them. So I think just being comfortable with talking to any one of us about the needs that they have.
Disclaimer before I give you my answer. I am not talking about anyone's parenting style. However, what we see is, I have to give disclaimers with my answers because I'm bold. And so, one thing that we see is a student transitioning to taking accountability, full accountability for their collegiate experience. They're used to us as mamas. Y'all know we love our babies. We love our babies. And those of you with sons, bless your hearts. You know, the mamas just go to a different level. So seeing our students, and they're always going to be our babies, transitioning to having to handle business for themselves, to having to have an actual conversation where they move their mouth and not send a text message, where they have to advocate for, understanding. I tell students all the time, do not leave someone's office with a question. Ask the questions. And then when I'm doing trainings on the flip side with all of us here, we have to anticipate the questions that students don't know to ask. And so what I see is, oh, my mama handles that. My mama knows my password. My mama does my financial aid. My daddy put my bed together. I don't know how this screw goes in. Figure little things. So equipping our children or our loved ones, our babies, the ones that we care for, to take ownership for this experience and to advocate for themselves in a way that gets them what they need to survive and to succeed is important.
And if I can say this, it sort of ties into that, talking about accountability. The students typically try to stay away from us. I don't know why. It's enough for a guy to develop a complex. But one of the things that I found is, and it's the same thing when it comes to accountability, just helping them transition. If you haven't started that, please do that. So that they'll be able to transition into more of a responsible adult with that. We tend to do that here. Give you an example. Parking permits are part of student packets. Even to this day, late in the game, we still have parking permits that are still in our office that students have not come and picked up. And that's a problem, because if you don't have a parking permit on your vehicle, you'll get a ticket. And so they'll end up with, a crazy amount of charges on their account because they didn't come to the office to pick up their parking permit. So things like that. The other thing is, I'm the father of I have 2 daughters and a son, and I think I have prepared my daughters in the event that they have mechanical issues with their vehicles, that there are some things that they can handle on their own. One of the things that we do is we provide services. If, for example, a student has a dead battery, we'll go over and we have jump packs that we will help them start their vehicles. But me, myself, what I typically do, if it's a young lady, I'll do it for her and I'll show her. If it's a young man, he's learning on his own. And typically, and I say that to Jess, I want them to be able to handle those things, those types of things on their own. And so those are things that we ask that if you can help us with that transition, so it's not as tough for them once they get here.
Good. Anybody else want to speak to that?
I would just say over in athletics, especially in my department, they need adjustments for everything, especially when it comes to insurance. Like Selena and Susan said, they're always like, oh, my mom handled this or my dad handled this. And we're like, well, we need you guys to help us with your insurance cards. Half the time we get the front page of it and not the back. We feel like we need both sides. And they're always trying to figure out, well, how does this work as far as the billing process? So we do sit down with them and we talk with them a lot about our billing process when it comes to their athletic injuries. Let's hope and say that they never get injured as an athlete at PC, but there's always something, whether they just get sick on a regular basis or they need help maintaining their medication for, like Susan, with their mental health, things of that nature. So we always are a resource for them to reach out to other individuals. So that is a lot that we see their first year here at PC, and also the community engagement. A lot of them want to know things outside of athletics. And so that comes into my part as well, work with everyone in this room and getting them involved across campus, not only in athletics, but anything that happens across the PC community.
So I'm going to talk for a minute about roommates. And I will
Questions, so thank you.
you're
good. That's perfect.
So most of our students don't really have problems with conflict with roommates. However, some will. And for a lot of students, it's new living with somebody else. Maybe they had their own room, or it's definitely new living with somebody that's not their brother or sister that they've grown up with. So sometimes students already know somebody from high school or a friend that they want to live with coming in, and we'll room them with that person. A lot of times we'll room student athletes or teammates, but for other students, what we do is we take the application answers that they put in on the housing application, and we calculate their closest matches, and that's how we pair them. And so I know somebody in this room has filled out their housing application for their student. So if you did, you may know them very well, but you might want to have them go back and look and see, do you really plan to go to bed by 10? Or, are you going to be staying up late and I'm going to put this now, but then you're going to be matched with a roommate who really does go to sleep at 10, but you want to be up until 2. So, just try and prep them to, know that little things are going to come up. Maybe their roommate has, a big family and everybody shares snacks, everybody shares clothes, and so their roommate eats some of their Doritos, or their roommate borrows their baseball cap, and that is new and weird if you're an only child, like I was, but that might be totally normal for their roommate. So try and prep them for that. And back to what Jana said, if you think that your student may have a need for a housing accommodation, now's the time to start getting the ball rolling on that, because we're kind of all chickens running around with our heads cut off come August. So if you think that your student may have a need for a single room, or they may have a need for a first floor room based on mobility status, or they may have a need for a private bathroom, or they may have a animal at home that essentially has served as an emotional support animal at home that they're going to need to have for emotional support here. All of that can be initiated through the initial intake form with the Office of Accessible Education. I myself do not make decisions on approving accommodations or disapproving accommodations. I take what I'm given by Jana and then I work with the student to make the placement. So you don't need to send me your medical forms. I won't know how to make heads or tails of it. But once I get that from Jana, then I can work with the student on the placement. And so the sooner the ball's rolling, just the easier it is on our end to make sure that we're running. Well, we'll be running anyway, but make sure that we're ready for the the proper housing with their student. As Dr. Blair said, the communication from text to having to talk in person. I think sometimes students are afraid to come in and chat or afraid to call the RA, but we have staff around 24/7, our RA staff, and we have professional staff on call to help students with anything. So really they only have to call, and we'll be happy to help them. So I'm sure there's more, but roommates, usually not as big of an issue as people think. Most of them will get along and they'll stay together throughout their first year. They might even stay together all 4 years. So.
That's a great segue. Can we talk about accessibility?
That's where I was going.
Perfect.
That is perfect, because having a need for accommodations, that can mean something totally different to everyone in this room. Housing accommodations, your student, your loved one, they're going to get a housing assignment. A housing accommodation is based on a documented medical condition, diagnosis, or disability. It is not, I've had my own room for the past 12 years and I just can't live with someone. No, boo, it don't work like that. However, if there is a medical condition, if there is a disability, with the understanding that we are not equipped to accommodate and provide single room spaces to every student with a neurodivergent diagnosis. It has to be severe, it has to be something that requires the accommodation. We will coach them, again, transition is what we do. So we help them transition to college and incorporate their diagnosis, because that's a part of being your authentic self. And so, again, if your student is on medication, if they have a CPAP, if they are, having certain mobility issues where going up and down steps may be a challenge. We will work with them on that. But just because they're used to having their own space and they have anxiety, and I'm not discounting anxiety or discrediting the diagnosis, but everyone with an anxiety diagnosis, I just want to put that out there, will not be able to get a single room.
And another important note to make, we do not allow pets on campus. So the only animals that can come are those that are approved emotional support animals for a true need or a service animal, true trained service animal. And so for those, we ask that, the student notify our office about their service animal so that we're aware of its presence. And for the emotional support animals, once we get the information from Jana, we'll work with the student, ask for a cute photo, and get documentation on vaccinations, that sort of thing.
I did want to explain a little bit about the difference between ESAs, service animals, and pets, okay? So a service animal actually provides the person with a disability with there's a service that they perform, whether that is, vision impaired and they're a guide dog, they could be an alert dog. An emotional support animal is one that does provide the emotional support. That is backed up with documentation from the psychologist, psychiatrist, that this animal indeed provides that type of service. Now, a pet is, your guinea pig, your snake. Please do not bring those to campus. If you do, there's going to be serious issues, because I don't know of any person that has a snake that will provide any type of emotional. I mean, it evokes emotions in me, but but a pet is just one that, if you bring one of those to campus, then you will be seeing Boone. Yes.
Then I do want to clarify, because we make the determination, we being Jana, I hear it when the students are upset about the decision. So just because you go online and purchase an emotional support certification for $19.95, or you pay someone, I've seen people get literally ripped off for $500 so that they can get a letter. Please do not buy anything online. That is not the medical documentation that we need. And don't get sucked into the gimmicks. So make sure that anytime an animal is approved, it should come through our office. There's no entity on any website that gives you permission to bring something to our campus without our approval. And don't pay people. Like literally, y'all can do something else with that $500. If you can't give it to me, I will.
Thank you. Okay.
And I was just going to provide one more note. I don't like to give students big fines, but the fine for an unapproved animal is $250, and we fine per day until the animal's removed. So if you're having your student kind of do their own thing, take care of their process, kind of be accountable for themselves, and they're working on the process, and they say, okay, I'm approved, and they want to go, either they want to bring the animal from home or they want to go to the Humane Society, ask them, to show you, have you got the letter from Ms. Barnes that says you're approved yet? Can you show me that? Because she's going to send me a letter, by email to me and the student that says the student's approved for this accommodation. So if you're unsure and you don't want to end up being stuck with that $250 fine, ask your student to see the approval to know that they've completed the process.
And one last thing I want to say about that, I'm so sorry. I don't write the accommodations for the emotional support animals. I know that pets do enhance our quality of life, and I would probably write it for everybody if I could. So I don't do those accommodations.
So what is the process? If a parent needs to do that, what is the process? How do they start? A parent is start, if the student needs to start that?
Yes, it is the student's responsibility, first off. The very first thing you would do is you would go onto our website, and we have a quick links section. If you click on that and go down to disability services, it will tell you all the information that you need. The very first step in the process is for you to self-identify. That means you go in and you click on the intake and you fill that out. Okay? So that's the very first step. I do have information, shameless plug, will be on the tables when we go down to Springs.
Good. And a lot of these folks will be there as well, and lots of information tables so that you can ask your very specific circumstance questions in that kind of setting where you can get personal answers. But we are going to switch really quick. How does PC help students get involved and find their community at PC? How do we help students find their community when they come to PC?
Well, of course, whether a student is an athlete or not, during Welcome Week, we will have campus-wide fairs, registered student organization fairs, where they can really find their club or organization so that they can have their sense of community. Also within our residence halls, they meet early on with their resident advisor, with their floor. There's always opportunities for students to get involved. There's different programming. There's, I call it speed dating, not speed dating, probably don't want to say that, but in an RSO fair, we have a database that we use called Campus Groups, which lists every single event on campus, and y'all, we have a lot of them. We have over 60 registered student organizations, and if there's something that does not already exist for your student to be a part of, they can start it themselves. Since I've been here, I've had students start a book club, Presby Reads. I've had students start and revive the ecology club. There's a knitting club. Y'all, there's a PC Rocks club where they sit in the rocking chair literally on the lawn and rock their life away. So again, if there is something that they want to do, we try to create that space. There are several organizations, whether they're affinity-based groups or academically. Each academic department has a club, political science, chemistry. There is something literally for everyone to do.
You know, I'm reporting to the provost, so I'm on part of the academic affairs side. If your child wants to get involved with a pre-professional club, I highly encourage them. That's where they're going to get involved and start networking with employers, graduate schools. It's a good way to develop skills and resumes and make connections. So another way of sense of belonging and getting to know, whether or not this major is for me. Is this career path for me? And then maybe it's not, and you start exploring.
Kim, this is great. Hang on, because I'm going to ask you the question next. Okay. How does your office coach students in terms of starting from freshman year on? We've talked about this a lot. How does your office coach students in terms of internships, jobs, graduate school preparation?
Well, we follow the framework of a 4-year career action plan. This gets back to, we don't want to wait to see your child senior year, panicking and having anxiety about what am I going to do next. I haven't explored career paths or graduate schools. We want that to occur earlier. So on their schedule beginning fall, your student will have a course called First Year Exploration. And they'll be introduced to Pathway U, which is our preliminary, I would say it's a career guidance system, and they'll answer questions honestly about what are my interests, what are my values, what are my skill sets. And that helps shape and form an idea of what I want to major in, as well as some career paths, because it's not really obvious. And I think there's a lot of anxiety freshman year, sophomore year, even junior year, senior year. I'm still not sure where I belong in this world, what's my purpose and meaning, and that's what we can do as far as individually coaching. So there's assessments out there, but it's the individual coaching with us. On top of that, you have to self-identify. We talked about self-responsibility. if I don't know you, my associate director doesn't know you, you may miss out on equal opportunities, access to internships, networking events. You've got to stay in touch with us, but you have to come out and make sure you're using those resources too. So there's lots of individual coaching at any time of the year. I just met with a young man, he's a junior, on Friday, and we're going to go into deep diving and counseling and advising about really what does he want to do, because he's kind of lost. And so I give this as an example of, this is a journey. Encourage your students to use the resources on campus. It's kind of like a gym, a membership to gym, a gym center, fitness center. If you don't go there, are you getting stronger? Probably not. I don't like going to the gym. But you're paying for it, right? So you're not individually an extra charge, but this is a service for your child for the next 4 years. And so you don't want to delay you using it.
Thank you. Kayla, I'm going to call you out a little bit because we want to talk about academic support services. What types of student or services are available for students who need tutoring or extra help making that transition to college? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities for students to reach out to fellow students who know exactly what they've been going through. We have the Writing Tutoring Center, which is located in Neville on the 2nd floor. And the hours may vary, but generally they do have available hours in the morning, evening, and the afternoons for students. And there's, I think, 9 writing tutor center tutors. And then for other tutoring subjects, we cover about 13 majors right now. So like economics, chemistry, biochemistry, math. There's about 25 of us, and there's a website you can go to on Brightspace. Make sure your student gets familiarized with it. All they'll need to do is use their email to log in and create an account, and you can see the different tutors that are available and their scheduling. You can even read a little bit of a bio about them to see if this person might fulfill what you need. I believe we have a drop-in tutoring that covers all subjects on Sundays in the evening. There's Tuesday, Thursday physics and math tutoring, and there's a Tuesday drop-in tutoring for chemistry and biology. And we are always here to help your students out. And the biggest thing I think that I've noticed with students is the ones who keep coming back, who keep asking for help, tend to do better and gain the most from the service itself. Some students, I think, are a little intimidated to keep coming back, or they think it means they're not learning anything, or that we may be judging them. We are there for them. And especially if they feel like they are a little intimidated to go to the professor, we are always there to help when we can.
And those services are covered. They don't have to pay out of pocket for those. They're covered in their tuition fees, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Perfect. Okay. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm leaving a little bit of time for questions, but as we wrap up, what advice from where you sit do you have for these parents on encouraging their independence while still having a support system? And we've talked about this a little bit, but if you could give one piece of advice for these folks in the audience, what would you say?
I've gone through, I have 2 daughters that have successfully finished school and launched, and guess what? I'm a really smart parent now. I know what I'm talking about. So I think that you really need to encourage them to say, you know what, there is a resource on campus. I encourage you. And you don't call us. Don't call us. You have your student call us or reach out to us through email. Please, you really need to start pushing back and saying, these are the resources, come and use them, show up, because otherwise you're losing out on a tremendous part of your career college experience.
Take advantage of every opportunity in front of you. There's so many opportunities, and if there's something that you like and there isn't a club for that, you can create one. One thing about PC, we're not perfect, but your student can in fact change, and I think that's one thing that our students really love about PC. And like Ms. Lane said, encourage them to be responsible. Just point them in the right direction and tell them that they can do it, which is true, they can. They're just learning how to navigate a system.
So as a parent, because like Ms. Lane, I have 2 daughters who've already graduated college. One thing as parents is we have to believe that we don't always have the whole story. When we check in with our students, that would be the first thing. Check in with them. The basic questions. How are you sleeping? Are you eating? Contrary to what you will hear, there is food on this campus.
Well, there's no food at our house.
You know, they don't have to empty your cabinets every time they come home. But check in with them. Are you sleeping? Are you eating? Are you making friends? What's the last event that you attended on campus? So ask questions. Are you meeting with your professors? Homework for each of you when they get their schedules. Ask them their professors' names. You may take that for granted, but some of them go a whole semester and don't even learn the professor's name. So ask those questions. And then when you're hearing things, I didn't do so well on the test, ask them, what did you do to get this grade? So ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. I could write a whole book. And then don't be surprised by what they tell you. When we ask the questions as parents, brace yourself because we may get the truth. And the truth may not be something that we instilled in them while they were under our roofs. So ask questions, and then the last part, give grace for them to become their own adult. Don't force them to follow in our path. Don't expect them to follow in our path. Give them grace to become their own adult and love them anyway.
Anybody on that side want to respond to that piece of advice for parents?
Over in athletics, we see all the time, I know it's a bad term to use, but helicopter parent, especially when they get injured. I know my parent would be a helicopter parent if I ever get injured. I live probably 8 hours away from my closest relative. So my parents call me all the time if I get a cold. As you can see, I've been out of college for about 10 years now, and they still treat me as a little kid. So it would never go away. I do encourage you guys to give them their space when they do get injured because they are going through a lot of emotions, especially like Susan said earlier, if they were that top athlete and they got injured recently, they don't know what to do half the time because they're sitting out, they don't feel like they're included anymore. So give them that space to go through their emotions, but also encourage them to talk to individuals, to talk to their resources, especially in my department and across athletics. We're here for them, we're with them pretty much every day. Some of them treat us as their older, cousins, aunts, uncles. That's how we build the relationships with them. So encourage them to build those relationships with the other individuals and the athletic staff, not only their coaches, but across campus as well. And just encourage them to get out from athletics and just get involved in the community as well, because you do need that space, that balance away from athletics.
Yeah, just to kind of echo what's already been said, encourage them to be brave, and it's okay to be goofy, it's okay to be weird, and, they should really try and go for the opportunities that come up. If their RA is trying to drag them to silent disco, we've got silent disco next week, tell them to go have fun for an hour, put down the game controller, put down the phone, and, go have some fun, and go meet some people and be a little uncomfortable. It's okay to be a little bit uncomfortable and be nervous and be anxious, but you miss out on a lot if you don't put yourself out there. And just another thing on laundry. I know that wasn't part of the question initially, but laundry is free on our campus. You don't have to pay. You don't need quarters or a car. If you are currently doing all of your students' laundry, do some lessons between now and August. The chief actor says stop. That's what my mother probably say too. She, at a certain point, said, "I'm not doing your laundry." And your father in his house, he's not allowed to do your laundry anymore either. But do some laundry lessons, do some basic cooking lessons. Just have some of those conversations maybe talk about budgeting a little bit, because if you're doing it for them and you're providing, that support right now, they might crash a little bit and not have it clean clothes to wear if they don't pick up some of those skills. So, our RAs can teach people how to do laundry. I don't really separate my clothes like I probably should, but we can provide those skills too. But it's a good time between now and then to check in, see what can you do on your own, what do I need to educate you on.
Probably the biggest thing is, and I think everybody's touched on this, take advantage of all the services that are available. Please, please, please take advantage of those. And they can actually come to the police department and not be in trouble if they need, directions, instructions. They have questions. We can try to provide those answers for them. But everybody up here can get them where they need to be. So if they have concerns about anything, all they have to do is check in with us.
And the last thing, since Jenna didn't have an answer, I'm going to use her time. Prepare your students for college after dark. And I say that because we've talked a lot about classes, we've talked a lot about academics, we've talked a lot about res life, but prepare them for the parties, prepare them for the hanging out. And you might say, oh, my child's not going to a party. Lies. Prepare them for, street smart. Don't leave your cup unattended. Prepare them for something we've learned in Girl Scouts. I'm sure y'all had to have learned it in Boy Scouts. Always use the buddy system. Prepare them to use, I have to go to my Title IX coordinator role. Help them understand consent. And you might say, my child is going to practice abstinence and not engage in sexual engagement. Prepare them, please. Let them understand the power of no. If someone tells you no, stop. Because they don't want to see that side of me in that particular role. We don't want to get law enforcement involved. Let them understand, empower them to understand that no is a complete sentence. No is a complete sentence. So I want to make sure that you talk to them about consent and that you prepare them for the parties. That's stuff we don't want to think about as parents.
Also, too, if they're going to be bringing vehicles on campus, please, please, please tell them to lock their doors when they're not in their vehicles.
Yes.
Makes it a whole lot easier for us.
Yes. The last thing I want to say is one thing I tell my son is not just no is no, but ask before you go to the next step. Is this okay?
Yes.
So that way you get an affirmative yes before you proceed. Get it in writing.
Don't
Another note on PC After Dark. So it's part of my role to hold students accountable to all local, state, and federal law, including around drugs and alcohol. However, people are going to drink underage to some extent, and there's going to be some marijuana, some drug usage. And what I want is for everybody to make it home safe at the end of the night. And for everybody to be here the next day. I want everybody to live to get to the stage 4 years down the road in May. And so we have an amnesty policy as part of our code of conduct, so that if your student is intoxicated or under the influence of a substance and they seek out medical help for themselves, or they seek out medical help for a friend, a roommate, a teammate, a sorority, sister, fraternity brother, we are not going to hold the student accountable we're not going to hold the student responsible for violating those policies. It doesn't mean that there will not be outcomes and that there will not necessarily be expectations or things that the student is then expected to do, but there will not be on the student's record, this student violated the alcohol or the drug policy if they contact us or campus police or another staff member seeking medical help, because we want everybody to make it home safe at the end of the night. We want everybody to make it to that stage in May. So it's an important policy. I'll talk about it again at orientation. The RAs are going to talk about it in the first hall meeting when students meet in, but it's an important policy to have a conversation with your students about. We want them to be safe above all else, in addition to course, abiding by policies and local state and federal law.
Okay, and we are 12 minutes over, and some of these folks, as they mentioned, have to get to the academic and involvement fair so that they can be there to answer your questions when you get there. So we are going to wrap it up here. I think this has been wonderful. I know we're over, but this has been wonderful. I hope for you guys it's been wonderful. As a parent, I know these are questions that I would want to know for my children and the folks that I'm supporting. So let's give them all a big round of applause. Supporters and guests, your next stop is going to be the Academic and Involvement Fair in and around Springs Campus Student Union. You'll see at the Campus Center. You'll just follow the crowd. We're all going to be headed that way. And then lunch on the lawn, which we're very excited about. And hopefully your students have met new friends while you've been in here, and hopefully you've met new friends. But if nothing else, you've had a learning experience. So thank you very much.